So let's go ahead and we'll get started here. So this is our Ohio Federal Research Network's Opportunity Day for August. And here is our agenda. So I am Mark Bartman. I'll do just a real quick overview of OFRN and kind of where we're at. For those of you that maybe are new to OFRN, but even if you've been around for a while, I think sometimes it's beneficial just to see what we've done in the past, so you kind of have an idea of what our thought processes is as we move forward into the future for that. And then we have a couple of very special guests. So Alexis Bonnell, she's the Chief Information Officer and Director of the Digital Capabilities Directorate at AFRL. And I think you will really enjoy what she has to say this morning to everybody. And will really get you energized, I think, as to where AFRL is going when it comes to digital capabilities. A very, very interesting individual. Bob Durgo is a Senior Program Manager at Ohio Aerospace Institute, which, if you don't know, now is a fully affiliate with Parallax Advanced Research. So as of 1 January, Parallax and OAI, I'll use the word merged. I'm sure that's probably not legally or contractually correct, but it's something along those lines. And he's going to talk about a new program that they've started called the Drive Consortium. And then, as always, we'll give you a quick overview on some of the most recent opportunities or things that are coming up from our federal partners. And Stephen Price, one of our OFRN associates, will go through those slides for you, and then a quick wrap up. One difference between the way we've done this in the past and the way we're going to do it today is that for our two guest speakers, that instead of waiting until both of them have provided presentations before we get into Q&A, we will do Q&A after each presentation. So you'll have opportunities to ask questions. Although I have a feeling after a meeting with Alexis yesterday that she may ask you all some questions. So I might be prepared to give her some feedback that she's looking for on that. Next slide, please. So just real quickly, as I mentioned, I'm your MC this morning. Our Parallax team of Emma Zardo, Becky Mesher, Josh Pacheco, and Sophia Cipriani have been the ones working really hard to put all this together. I mentioned our event speakers that we have and our opportunity review this afternoon that Stephen is going to be doing for that. And then, of course, I always want to recognize our government partners that we have with the Ohio Federal Research Network, Air Force Research Lab, the Navy Medical Research Unit in Dayton, NASA Glenn up near Cleveland, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, and although there's also now the National Space Intelligence Center, and of course the Ohio National Guard. Next slide, please. Just a quick reminder. So this is kind of the construct that OFRN is built on. Obviously, our federal partners are the main drivers as to the technology areas that we're looking at and where we're going here in the future, and particularly round 6 was just closed out, and we'll be getting out letters to everybody for those teams that were selected for funding and the ones that were not. Just as a highlight is that if you were one of those teams that were on one of those teams, excuse me, that ended up not getting funded, we'll be happy to do the one-to-one with you to do a little debrief, but we also want to make sure that we're providing as much support to you as we can here in the future for other opportunities. So we'll make sure that we follow up with that. Next slide. So just very quickly, again, if you're familiar with OFRN, really our primary goals is to figure out how do we increase federal funding here in the state of Ohio, move the state up the list towards the top, or at least in the top 10 as an absolute minimum. Making some, I think, decent progress on that. You'll see some numbers here just shortly as to where we've ended up so far out after the first 5 rounds anyways. But know that we have a lot of work yet to do on that as well. And then, of course, we're wanting to develop those lasting and sustainable relationships out there between the academia, industry, and government, as you can see on that Venn diagram on the left-hand side of the slide. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, here's the bubble chart. So if you really don't take away anything, you can look at those bottom 3. so far to date, and this is through round 5. It does not include round 6, the round that we're currently getting ready to start. About a little under $52 million so far the state of Ohio since 2015 has put into this program. During those 5 rounds, our teams and their successes have leveraged over almost $360 million in follow-on federal funding that has come back to the state of Ohio. And then, of course, the big thing is that I always like to point out to all of our elected officials that support this program is that you all and members of the teams that have been awarded and have participated in OFRN obviously find it of enough value that you've put in almost 40 million of cost share during these last 7 or 8 years and 5 rounds that we've run this program. So I applaud you all in being willing to put a little skin in the game when it comes to making Ohio better and answering the needs of our federal partners. Next slide, please. This is a slide I'll ask of one of my teammates to put that link into the chat for you. But it is an interactive PDF that is on our website if you haven't seen it before. It has all 35 of the funded programs or projects, excuse me, that we have had so far during the first 5 rounds. You can click on any one of those projects and it'll take you to a description of the project and a listing of the team members. And so if you'd like to follow up with any one of those projects or teams on that, just let us know and we'll be happy to make those connections for you. Next slide, please. So just real quickly, these were the areas of interest for round 6. I'm sure many of you probably saw these if you participated in round 6 for OFRN. As you can see, the previous 3 rounds, rounds 3, 4, and 5 were very much focused on advanced air mobility. That was really a very heavy focus on the state during those time periods, and also our federal partners, of course. But as we move forward, we know both the state of Ohio as well as our federal partners are looking more towards these types of area of interest. Of course, hypersonics is obviously very important right now when you look at the potential competitors that we have around the globe and who we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But also things like human performance, high power energy, of course, digital engineering tools. If I had a nickel for, every time I heard somebody mention digital twin, I wouldn't be sitting here probably running this OFRN webinar for you. But those are things, of course, that are really important in what we're doing. And then commercial space operations and research in low Earth orbit is becoming more and more important here as we move forward. And then, of course, quantum technologies. Next slide, please. So just real quickly, some upcoming events. If they're not on your calendar and you're interested, Launch Dayton has their startup week in September. The National Advanced Air Mobility Industry Forum that the Dayton Development Coalition puts on is at Springfield Beckley Airport, and also in September, the 18th and the 19th. Looking forward to that. I'll be there for that one. There's also the Ohio Defense and Aerospace Forum at Wright State University on October the 2nd and the 3rd. That's always been a great opportunity for collaboration and to be able to meet new individuals that are working in the aerospace and defense sectors. And then Dayton Business Journal, of course, has their Aerospace and Defense Forum in October. If anybody out there is listening and you're a community partner and you would like for us to be able to advertise upcoming events that you have when we do these, feel free to reach out to Emma Zardo or Jess Pacheco, and we can make sure that we get those added in here when we run these webinars.